Was
Howdy.
sorry, I'm just it's it's Masters week, so I'm getting absolutely nothing done today and tomorrow at work.
Mm-hmm.
I sincerely apologize for nothing and to nobody. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, what's going on, dude? Yeah, welcome back, one and all, to yet another episode of the Mike Medlin Scratch League recap show. I'm James, team captain this year. I was fortunate enough to be able to draft the ginger-haired guy right above me, aka Luke. This guy, he knows things about bowling and is fun to bowl with most of the time. Of course, same for me, so it works out. But yeah, we're here to just talk a little bit of bowling. Getting down to the very end of the season, we have 3 weeks left, so just kind of today's going to be as much about kind of end of the season implications as anything else. Because I mean, you've got 3 tough matchups coming up, but it's going to be a fun ending to the year for sure. It's 3 fun teams to bowl against, win or lose, and I think that's going to, just kind of go in, give it our best, and whatever happens, happens. Is kind of how I'm thinking about it, at least. So, yeah. Any bold predictions on your side for the end of the season, Luke?
I don't know. Sometimes once it gets close to the end of the season, people are just starts getting warm outside, and people are just kind of ready to be done. And so sometimes people fall off, especially if they're lower in the standings. I mean, the teams that are higher up there are still competing for something. The teams that are lower are kind of like, just bowl the last couple weeks and
kind of bowl out and whatever. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not really bowling anybody lower in the standings the last few weeks.
Correct.
So
that part is highly unfortunate. Yeah, so like you said, we don't really have any lower in the standings matchups left. So after last week, we were sitting in 9th place. And the last 3 weeks, we bowled 5th place, 2nd place, and 11th place. And by the way, there are 2 Eagles, a Lucy title, an ITC title, and one of the guys who's currently sitting in 3rd in doubles in the Open Championship. So we all have to bowl against in the last 4 weeks, last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yay. But no, it's it is going to be. I know, looking at the standings right here. So we're in 9th at 235.5. I think, and you and I were talking about this a couple weeks, or I think earlier this week, Luke, is Rob's team 277.5. That's what, 40 and a bit ahead of us. Trevor's team is 30 ahead of us. So that's basically, and even Jay's team at 260.5, it's 25 ahead of us. There's a lot of that's starting to feel almost a little bit uncatchable for us at this point, barring like a complete meltdown from Jay or Trevor's team, which I don't really see happening for either of them.
No.
Just not just because that is a week's worth of points in 3 weeks to catch up, but also we in order to catch them, we also have to go around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other teams just to get to Jay. And so it's kind of one of those things where even if the points difference in and of itself was doable, the fact that we would have to go around 8 teams to get to top 3, or 6, 7 teams to get into the top 3 is just kind of, it's hard to see that happening over the last few weeks. So let's try and get every point we can. We are still, we're still up on, let's see, 2nd is Trevor's team at 567.
Yeah,
we're at 592 for season total points. So
basically, it's pretty well a whole week.
That's gonna be tough to make up at this point. Trevor's team has caught us a little bit this half, obviously, because they're 30 points ahead of us. But at the same time, still having a cushion of 25 is gonna make it a little easier to hold on to that. And so it's just kind of get out with 3 quality weeks to end the year, and we should, in theory, end the season as points champions, I think. Hopefully.
Yeah, and actually, Trevor and Kreitzer are bowling this week, it looks like.
Ooh, I did not notice that. Yeah. On 1 and 2 as well. That'll be an interesting match.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, kind of an interesting kind of delta in the standings. So this is after week 30. We were at 214 in ninth. And then this past week, and this kind of serves as a segue as well, we took 21 against Crouch's team. Fun match, tough match. It never really, it did not feel like we won by 100, at least in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt like we were having to, grind away for every single point all day, which kind of what I expected to have happen against that team. It's a solid team top to bottom. I know Crouch might have bowled the best 360 for the back two I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, like he just couldn't get anything going. He was making what looked like pretty good shots and just nothing worked. So feel for him on that. But yeah, I guess what were your thoughts on the match as a whole? Someone shot who did shoot 295? I didn't realize Chris
Quidditch.
Quidditch shot 295 last week. That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what he left.
Well, they're on 17 and 18 last week.
Yeah,
so I would be willing to bet like $20 it was a 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Because that pair always hooks a lot to begin with, and even past that, I know I was talking with Jared and Jerry during and after league, and they said, yeah, that pair was just screaming from like the word go.
Yeah, I mean Jerry was playing like fourth arrow.
Oh wow, and he's got 4 revs. So.
Yeah, that'd be yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, is we're in kind of the middle of the pack, but if you look at it this way, of like it's less than a half a week away from fourth.
Yeah, we're 10 points out of fourth, so that's definitely very doable.
Less than a third of a week out of fourth. That's like 2 really good games out of fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, yeah, that's very make upable. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm sticking with it. So, yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on last week? I felt like you bowled really well last week.
The first game, I have trouble getting out of the blocks, getting warmed up, and whatever else. And so yeah, the first game wasn't bad. It just wasn't very good. And then yeah, the back two, I got something going.
Yeah.
And Jonathan bowled really well. So
yep.
So yeah,
he won the breakdown pair showdown.
That was
at least for this one.
That was a good match. Baton bowled really well.
Yep. Norm just, I think Norm just kind of was a little slow out of the blocks game one, and if you take that away, then I think he and Jaden end up being a super close match on series realistically. That was most of the difference right there. And then Crouch and I were in just a brawl game one. I think did I open? I might have opened. I think I missed a 10 pen, actually, or something. Yeah, Crouch and I, obviously really close game one, and then I didn't really feel like I threw it all that great this past week. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how I shot 260 game one. Just kind of missed in the right spots more or less, and then like my good shots were good, but my shot to shot was bad. If that makes sense, was kind of what it felt like this past week. So I'm gonna try to get that a little more dialed in tonight. I guess practice on Monday, I was actually throwing it pretty well, so hopefully I can keep that going. But yeah, otherwise, I will say that the right side, if you couldn't go straight up the lane like what Haas was doing, the right side was not that fun. Game 3, kind of if you weren't in the right little window. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed that. If you were in the right little window, then it was pretty easy to get 7 really, really quickly. and that's kind of what got Noah as well. Is he went like back 5 or 6 to save 180.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, John, to answer your question about points as well, we got it's 32 points a week. So each person, like in this matchup, Norm versus Jaden on screen, that's 1 point for each game and 1 for series. And so there's 16 individual points available between the 4 bowlers on each team. And then team game and team series are both worth 4 points each. So it's 8 points per game in total, 4 individual and 4 for the team. So really it's kind of set up to, if you're winning team games, you're going to win the match ultimately is kind of what it comes to.
Mm-hmm.
Barring like, we've had a couple of weird nights where like we've knocked down more pins but taken fewer points. But that's just kind of a fluke scenario that's effectively the same as tying on points, realistically.
Yeah, the other cool thing too is if you're bowling good and you're on a not so great team, you can actually there's plenty of side stuff, there's plenty of individual stuff, and so if you still win the majority of your points, they have a singles point standing too. So if your team's not doing well, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of a how do I say this? Like there's ways to do well without your team doing well. It's kind of a good way to kind of say that, I guess, of like, having the payouts for like, team high game, team high series, and high game series, and for the individuals, high average, and then like you said, winning most of your points. There's payouts for best individual points as well. So, not a scratch league. John, I've bowled in leagues that are scored in this fashion that are handicap, and it actually still works really well. In Luke's Discord server, I run a virtual league for them that is almost an exact copy of the baseline structure and scoring system of this scratch league, but it's a 90% of 230 handicap league that I run online. And it's great. And it's like super close competition pretty much throughout the entire season. So I think it actually can. There's a few things I think you have to do to set it up right, but if you do it right, then it can be really, really good, even in handicap format. So, yeah, we've got Needle this week that we get to bowl against with Mr. Rhodes here. So, but what are your thoughts, kind of going into this match?
Well, they just dump trucked us last half.
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that until started building the doc for this.
I mean, we just didn't. We had a chance that second game, it looked like, but still, they were just all bowling so well, and then we could have gotten that last game.
Yeah,
probably, but Nathan shot 270, and we just didn't do anything. I mean, Nathan could have shot 170. And it would have been a tie. So,
yeah, and Nathan went like spare strike, spare sheet.
Yeah,
right. So,
and
that's when you just say, "Good bowling."
This is another one of those teams that typically doesn't put the 10-21 that first game. There's most teams aren't going to shoot 1,000, but they're the team that's going to shoot the 880 every single game, no matter it's just a Hardman thing to keep the ball in play. Like all of them do it. Nathan, John, Alex. It's just like a family thing where they just all keep the ball in play constantly and beat the pocket to death. And Colfax kind of slow hooks it, but he's really consistent with it. It's one of those. He's almost like a DJ Archer that doesn't loft it. That's
a really good call.
That's what Colfax makes me think of. It's that slow hook that just looks like it's going to put him in trouble every once in a while, and he just never is.
Yeah,
I mean he's got it so so down to a science, and then Zach's just so good that just one of those things that is you're just going to take your lumps, like we were talking about last week. Of just this is one of those matchups where you're just trying to help the team win the team game more than anything else. Not so much. I mean, yeah, obviously you're gonna try to get your own points, but this is a much bigger focus on, get the team points. If Zach shoots 260, hopefully you're shooting 240 or 250 at least to keep the team in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just one of those weather the storm type of deals. So, I mean, on paper, we've got the slightly higher average. We got about the same advantage per person all the way down the line. But again, they took 28 from us last time. I think that was the biggest point total by several points that anybody took from us, as anybody's taken from us the entire year.
Yes, that is correct. Actually, yeah, that was tough night, but I mean at the same time, it's hard to beat 27-67. Period.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of those things where it's all you can do is say good bowling and move on. And at this point last season, we had such a big points lead that it didn't really hurt us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then again, Team Ottawa was kind of having the same issues.
Yep.
So I would look for this to be closer. I don't think either team is going to get. I don't think either team is going to get almost 30 out of this.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be that'd be a little tough. Again, I expect it to be a 20-12, 20-12. Either way you look at it, you're throwing it pretty good.
Hopefully, throwing it pretty good. Let's be clear here.
I've kind of recovered the last few weeks, and Jaden's coming off all kinds of collegiate stuff, and Noah's comfortable. So if we can have another week like we had last week, just if we can get to 2,700, I think that will probably get us 20.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I do think so. Kind of a little bit of a segue, or kind of looking at the pair. We are on 9 and 10, which has been far and away the highest scoring pair in the house until the last 2 or 3 weeks, where it's slowed down a little bit, and 5 through 8 have caught up to it. So now it's just kind of these three pairs all kind of in a tier of their own, 5 through 10 essentially.
I think it's more or less that 5 through 8 has caught up, because I think 9 and 10's been around that 216, 17, 18 mark pretty well the whole season. It's just every other pair was 214 and under pretty much. Yeah. So I think that 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 have just really caught up more than anything.
Okay, so I want to pull something up real quick, just kind of while I'm thinking about this. Where'd that go? So this, I'm going to pull this over. This is what it looked like at the end of the first half. So yeah, 9 and 10 slowed down just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been
and 5 through 8 have been crushing this half.
Yeah, the other pairs, I mean the ones that 1 and 2 and 17 and 18 have just been bad. 9 and 10 has been hot, and the rest of them have kind of done weird stuff.
Yeah, it's been up and down, which has been kind of interesting. It's actually a good question. What's been your favorite pair of the league this year? If you have
I don't know. I feel pretty good on 1 and 2 and 17 and 18 are definitely my least favorites.
Yeah,
but I feel pretty good on the rest of the pairs. I can't say that any other specific pair has caused me problems, or I've thought, okay, well, I'm on this pair tonight, so I'm going to shoot a million. It kind of boils down to, if I'm throwing it good, 1 and 2 is going to be a crapshoot, and 17 and 18 is going to be a crapshoot, no matter how good you're throwing it.
Yep.
But on the rest of the pairs, I feel like if I'm throwing it good, I can shoot 700 on any of the rest of them. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't think I have one that I necessarily always score better on.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me, because I was talking with Gromovitz about this yesterday. Is last season in league 17 and 18 was actually my best pair by a fairly wide margin. I think I averaged close to 245 on that pair. 4 times we hit it. And then this season has been one of my worst, And then I discovered an even crazier stat. So we've bowled on 7 and 8 4 times, including when we bowled against Yuri and Tyler 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
My sets on that pair: 753, 753, 753, 768. So I guess that's been my favorite pair this year.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, 753 triplicate on that pair to start the year. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I'd say 7 and 8 has been, score-wise, that has been my favorite pair. I'd say as far as actual knowing what to do, that's tough. I almost want to say 5 and 6, but then there's one week where I shot like 630 on that pair.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense, but it's got to be 7 and 8. Like 13 through 16, I understand how to manage them. I just haven't been able to score on them. And
Mm-hmm.
17 and 18, I've bowled terrible this year. So I don't know. It's been a very different year for me in terms of lane play than last season as well, just with the team that I built and kind of who we've caught on these pairs at the times we've caught them, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think that's been a little bit of the randomness has played into it as well. So yeah. Also, Vanity S asked earlier, I don't know if you saw it, have you been throwing any motive stuff in League?
Oh yeah, I saw that. But the Covert Revolt, it's a little. I think it just right now the theorem is looking so good that I got the Covert Revolt out. Not any new motive stuff. Let me put it that way. Motive stuff, technically, any relevant or new stuff, no.
Yeah,
it looked good I threw it a couple shots in practice last week and it looked good, but it's just the theorem has been the ball.
Yeah.
So
why throw something good when you can throw something better type of deal almost.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I'm just gonna, and I guess we can talk equipment for the week now before we get out.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Any changes for you? I know you've got the new Brunswick stuff.
The Kaboom's probably coming out because it's just a little too clean, a little too forward. From where I have to play on the lane, if I could play outside of third arrow, but anybody that's, I mean, like I keep saying, Rob is playing third arrow. And if Rob is playing third arrow, then I shouldn't get any closer to the gutter than he is. So, and Eric Moore is doing the same thing. He's playing third arrow with whatever he's doing. And even with, he doesn't put a whole lot on it and his speed's fairly high, but he's still playing third arrow. And so that just seems to be where everything is scoring from. And so stuff that's a little too weak or too clean, like the Kaboom, would be great if I could play a little bit straighter. I just can't. So I think that one's going to come out of the bag. I don't know what I'm going to put in there behind it, but everything else is going to be the Beyond Infinity's coming, because if I need something a little, and that might be one of those things where I don't know if I'm slow warming up in the first game. I think I am, but it might be the theorem might be a little clean and quick on the fresh. And so maybe I throw something else the first game and then get into that later. I think it's probably mostly me getting warmed up, but it's going to be theorem, Beyond Infinity, Covert Revolt, and then I'll figure out what to do with the last spot, but it won't be the Kaboom. I can't hear you anymore.
Sorry, I had hit my mute button, so I was typing for a sec. Probably something a little bit on the weaker side. I'm guessing just not as weak as the Kaboom. Is that kind of what you're thinking for that last spot?
Probably. Or, I'm not sure. I might get that GB5. Well, no, because that's going to be right on top of the Covert.
Yeah.
Basically, that's going to be one of those.
That's going to be a bigger shell Covert. Yeah.
Well, it's just anything that's any cleaner than that, I'm just not going to throw, because the Kaboom was like, as soon as I got that, I'm like, oh my god, yes, this is the kind of the clean and the cleaner, a little bit weaker thing that I need, but it's really not. I should probably just put the Summit back in there just for something slow, and that's what I was thinking. GB5, I'll put that back in there for something a little bit stronger, a little bit slower, but that's kind of so the Summit should probably go back in there. I'm just not going to throw anything other than the theorem, probably. So
yeah. I was going to say is the theorem is the new Summit for you is kind of what it feels like. But
Yep, it does the same. It accomplishes the same thing in a very different way.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like I've been throwing my theorem a ton everywhere for the same reason. It just like it seems like it always works,
Hmm.
even when it feels like it has no business working.
Yeah.
So yeah, for my bag, I'm probably going to just bring the exact same setup as what I have been for the last month or so, which is going to be 3.0, a lane shined NV tour, the theorem, and then my hustle camo. Like
Hmm.
that four just gives me, four different but complementary looks. Just like, no matter whether I need to get left early or, stay right and play straighter longer, or the mids go, or I just need something really stable. It gives me plenty of options to work with, different ways to get my ball through the pins depending on what I need. Which, thinking about this from a matchup perspective, Nathan, John, Jaden, Noah, they're all going to be straight up 10 or right of 10,
Hmm.
essentially, for the entire day. Like that's what they do. You're on the left side, so you're going to be all alone. um, Colfax, it's going to be kind of slow fading, like just left of the track, I expect.
Hmm.
Zach is the wild card. He's either going to be playing kind of track area, but I'm kind of expecting Zach to make it a race to fifth arrow just because that's where his ball reaction gets better.
Yeah.
Like when he's bowled well in the league this year, it's been going like 22-5 with like DNA coil attention star type stuff. And that's what I'm expecting him to do tonight realistically. So it's for me that I think this match lane play wise is going to be somewhat similar to when we bowled Yuri and Tyler a couple weeks ago. Like I either have to find a way to stay an arrow plus right of Zach, or I have to get 3 left of him.
Hmm.
And I'm more inclined to play go an arrow and a half right and just kind of stay in my own zone, because Zach's ball doesn't do a whole lot to the front part of the lane, especially when he's throwing shiny. And so I think it's going
Yeah.
to work to my benefit. So it'll be different in that sense than bowling against like a Brent or a Baton, who just their balls just chew up the fronts a lot more.
Yeah, because he gets the ball through the front so easily
Yeah.
that they don't really start doing a whole lot early. And you would think that a ball that flares and you put a bunch of rotation on that would just, I mean, it's just gonna chew stuff up. But it
Yeah.
just something about how the way that people get their ball through the fronts.
Yeah. So I don't know. Game 3 last time, I think I just made a few bad shots. And so that's just kind of going to be my thing tonight, is keep myself in play, hit the pocket a bunch, make quality shots. And, like you were saying earlier, is just playing for the team game wins above all else. If we can take 2 team games and team series, then what the heck is going on out there? Sounds like there's a pissed off dump truck with a destroyed engine or something outside. Sorry. Yeah, it's just kind of, if we can get a couple of team games and team series, then regardless of what happens on the individual points side, I think that'll be a win. So, and then let's see, one other thing, and you and I were talking about this a little bit as well. So with Trevor and Johnny not coming back next year, or not planning on coming back next year for being a captain, I think that actually makes your position a little bit more secure. So you're sitting in 14th for average right now among people who I think are going to be returning captains, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, so if we have 16 teams next year, then you are, what is that, 1.3, 1.2 ahead of the cut. But then you're another 1.5 ahead of the first out of captainship if it's 16 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's 18, then first out is 3 behind you. And that's Alex Hardman.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything I have to worry about.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be put up 3 quality sets for you, and you'll walk in and you'll probably either have like the 3rd or 5th pick, depending on how many teams we have realistically. But that's picking pretty early in the first round, I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be in. I think you'll be able to put together a solid team from there. Kind of have your pick of how you want to build it.
Yeah, I think with 90 games on the board at this point, making up a pin and a half over 90 games or even just a pin period is going to be hard to do.
That's a lot. Yeah, exactly. And then 13th is Crouch, who is, what is that, 2.7 ahead of you?
Yeah,
so, like you said,
I'm not going to catch him.
Yeah, 2.7 pins, and Crouch has 75 games. You've got 87.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's not changing.
Yeah,
like you're not getting unless you shoot, unless you go like 800. Even then, that's not gonna get you there. So yeah, and then for myself, I've pretty much got it locked up at this point. And lead is Eric is now all the way up to second in average. He has had an absolutely phenomenal second half of the year. So he's just under 5 pins behind me. But I'm just my goal at this point personally is I want to. I haven't gotten swept this year, so I'd like to finish the year not ever getting swept, and I want to finish 240. Just kind of a personal thing. But, yeah. 3 weeks to go, and like I mentioned, we got 3 tough matchups, but it'll be fun times and great competition and good people. So.
Yep.
Get it. I think I can't think of anything else to ramble about.
No, I think that'll do it. I think we can get out of here and
cool. I might actually bring the mics and do a probably either tonight or next week, do one more kind of mic'd up lead night for you and I before we are never teammates again in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, next year should be a little bit more interesting because we can have kind of like a draft preview. Well, we can
do a draft preview, and I mean, you and I are going to be so far apart that I don't think we'll be able to snipe each other's strategies all that much.
Yeah, but then we'll each next year, instead of just talking about the one team, I'll have my team to talk about. You'll have your team to talk about. So it should make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
next year.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Clint. Thanks, man. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll bring the mics next week, which bowling against Trevor, we're bowling Trevor's team, which is Trevor and Eric on your side. And then I'll have Brent and Adam Riley on my side. So it'll be a unique set of challenges. And I think that, bringing the mics along will be kind of fun to kind of, be able to talk through the thought process there of like how we're managing things.
Yeah, because last half they pre-bowled, so we didn't have to bowl them, and so we don't have any kind of frame of reference for this.
Yeah, exactly. But more than that, we didn't have to bowl them, and we had 17 and 18.
Yeah,
that was huge. So yeah, it'll be a fun time. We have them on, I think, 15 and 16, if I remember right, either 13 and 14 or 15 and 16. Should be a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll see you same time next week, I think.
Yeah. So same bat time, same bat place.